At least for now, Hungary will not receive any money from the EU's SAFE program. Hungary's SAFE plan for rearmament, worth over 16 billion euros, will be put on hold by the EU. Hungary will soon be the only EU country with a SAFE plan that has not been approved by the European Commission. According to RMFFM, the unofficial reasons include Hungary's blocking of the return of money for rearming Ukraine, irregularities in tenders, but also the lack of independence of the judiciary and the fight against corruption. Sound familiar? The toxic financial mechanism that is SAFE is intended not only to spend money on German and French industry, but also to control countries. And it does so using the conditionality mechanism. On December 8th, members raised the specific issue of applying the conditionality mechanism to advance payments on loans made available by member states through the SAFE tool. In other words, money for so-called rule of law, as confirmed by the European Commissioner for Budget, who is closely associated with Donald Tusk's camp. Rule of law is understood differently by Brussels, depending on who governs a given country.
Conditionality regulation will continue to apply to all funds, including revenues, also under the next MFF.
If Hungary does not comply with EU rules and the so-called rule of law, as understood by the Brussels elite, it will not receive money from the SAFE program. But that's not all. It is obvious that the suspension of SAFE funds for Hungary is due to the upcoming elections. The European Commission wants to influence Hungarians to elect a different government, because the one led by Viktor Orban does not bow to pressure from Brussels. The idea of not giving money to Brussels to implement Brussels' ideas, but instead giving that money to the people on the ground and ensuring that Western companies are properly taxed and that the money goes to the citizens, is considered heretical in Brussels. So Brussels is going on the offensive and blocking funds, gaining a new tool to exert political pressure on member states. Do we know this? We know this. This was the case with the National Recovery Plan in Poland. Before the parliamentary elections in Poland in 2023, the European Commission, at the urging of politicians from the current government, withheld funds for the National Recovery Plan. I had to take this initiative before the final post-election decisions are made. We must use all means, even unconventional ones, to save the money that Poland is entitled to. Immediately after the change of government, the government will take the necessary steps, which are not too complicated or time-consuming, so that Europe can see that the rule of law is returning to Poland and the money will be paid out. They talked about the rule of law. We are talking about violations of the rule of law that currently threaten the EU budget. But the message from Brussels was clear.
Now, my dear Donald, you return to your home country. And Donald, remember, when we see each other again, we'll see you, as you've said, as a prime minister.
All this was accompanied by a halo of fighting hatred. Look at yourselves today. What can they do to us? They can't do anything bad anymore. We'll keep an eye on them. Similar images return like deja vu, although now it's in Budapest. At their head is the opposition leader, and on their lips, those in power, without any moral boundaries and sparing no expense, are working to destroy the Hungarian nation. The leaders of hatred are turning Hungarians against Hungarians, evoking dark times. By spreading lies, they are trying to deprive the nation of the truth. We have reached a completely absurd situation where an international organization such as the European Union is influencing democratic elections in individual countries such as Poland and Hungary, despite their legal systems, despite their constitutions and political systems, which have been functioning for years, and there is no doubt about the democratic mechanisms that operate there. In Poland, we already know the outcome of the EU's machinations. In Hungary, the situation is still developing, and it will end up with the Hungarians falling for it, and the SAFE funds will indeed flow into Hungary, but they will be spent by the new government, new friends, and a new prime minister. I hope the Hungarians will not fall for it. Brussels is unlikely to give up on its new financial pressure. The change of power in Poland in 2023 showed EU bureaucrats that they can use financial blackmail to change the government in any member state. And those responsible for this have still not faced any consequences.